Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Today is Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. I'd like to call the Homestead, Florida City Council meeting to order. It is now 6:06 p.m. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Pursuant to City of Homestead COVID-19 local state of emergency and the executive order for hybrid and virtual public meetings dated November 20th, 2020, this will be a hybrid city council meeting in accordance with authorized communications media technology protocols as provided on the city's website and the meeting agendas. This hybrid meeting allows for the public to participate live during the hybrid meeting by either calling in or through Cisco WebEx or by physically appearing. Please note that due to COVID-19, there will be limited occupancy available in the council chambers. Face coverings must be worn by attendees at all times. In addition, the public will be subject to temperature checks and COVID screenings will be required. The hybrid meeting can be viewed live on the City Access channel or city website at cityofhomestead.com. The city will be accepting public comments as part of the hybrid meeting, which comments can be emailed to publiccomments@cityofhomestead.com. Public comments are limited to 300 words per comment. Public comments on specific agenda items should include your name, address, item you'd like to comment on, and followed by your comment. These may be submitted up until noon Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, and reviewed by the City Council as part of the record. General public comments should also include your name, address, and your comment, and can be submitted up until 30 minutes following the end of this hybrid City Council meeting and will be included in the minutes. Further details and instructions concerning public participation in the hybrid meeting are referenced in the City of Homestead Virtual Meetings Quick Start Guide located on the city website. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Fletcher.
Present.
Councilwoman Bailey.
Here.
Councilman Shelley.
Here.
Councilwoman Avila.
Here.
Councilman Roth.
Here.
Vice Mayor Faircloth Stigers.
Present.
Mayor Losner.
Here. Thank you. Madam Manager, are there any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
Just one addition, Mayor. The Miami-Dade County Commissioner, Danielle Cohen-Higgins, will be coming to the meeting this evening to introduce herself to the council. ETA approximately 6:30.
Thank you. Next item. Item 4 on the agenda is the consent agenda, tabs 1, 2, and 3. I'll
Move it.
entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move it.
Moved by Councilman Roth,
Second.
seconded by Councilwoman Avila. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Right. Next item, public hearings, ordinances, land use items, etc.
Yes, please be advised the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence or their authority to speak for the organization. And further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on the agenda.
I need to,
Mr. Shelley?
Thank you, Mayor. Tab 4, 6, 7, and 8. I spoke with the applicant briefly.
Thank you, Mr. Shelley. Mr. Roth?
same as Councilman Shelley. It was 4, 6, 7, and 8.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bailey? No communication. Councilwoman Avila?
Yes, Mayor, same items, 4, 6, 7, and 8. Thank you.
Councilman Fletcher?
Yes, same items, tabs 4, 6, 7, and 8.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
No communication, Mayor.
Thank you, and I will also disclose the same items, 4, 6, 7, and 8.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask anyone in the audience who's wishing to speak or testify on the quasi-judicial items this evening to please stand, raise your right hand to be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you hereby swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God? Thank you. You may be seated.
First item for consideration this evening is tab 4. This is a second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the development order for the Villages of Homestead Development of Regional Impact, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. White. Staff, Planning Services?
Yes, sir. This is the second reading, and we are recommending approval of this amendment to the master plan. As you all recall, it does have a lot to do with the movement of the 189 units out of Sector 14 and into Sector 12, and all of that was necessitated by the settlement agreement with the Motor Speedway. And with that, we're recommending approval, and I'll leave it to Mr. Argaza to explain further.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Arza. You know the drill.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, Hugo Arza, office is at 701 Brickell Avenue. Is this, we're good? You guys can hear me? Okay, sorry. With the mask, I can't tell. Pleasure to be before you again. Mayor, we had a conversation regarding this item, but I also asked you if you would indulge me. As you know, we now pre-record the presentations. I didn't think you all needed to hear my same exactly word-for-word pre-recorded presentation after sitting through it at first reading. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to just have staff pull up the PowerPoint just so that I can flip through the first two slides and just to refresh everyone's memory, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the questions we got at first reading, and I'm going to introduce someone to address some additional concerns. But if staff can put up the...
Very good. Please proceed.
Mr. Arza, I apologize, but since you told me today that you were not going to present, nothing was submitted to IT. You told me that your presentation was fully verbal.
It is. I know my colleague Alex Arias sent it in. Is it possible to get it? I mean, I was copied on the email where it was sent. Is it?
Right, which was in conflict to the information that you gave me over the phone.
No, I appreciate that, Michelle. I'm just saying, I know we did send it. I'm just wondering if it can be pulled up. I just didn't want to play the recording, but I'd like to at least have the aerial available. And I know I know the email is there. So I'm just,
just some of the pages from the presentation last month. Is that readily available?
Yeah, same presentation. Without the audio, I just wanted you to pull it up so that I had the, while they do that, I think we're all familiar with where this property is and the discourse that we had last time. 189 units being moved from the former Solara site to generally speaking, the golf course sector. Obviously the presentation had a number of graphics and slides and the like. But at the end of the day, we're talking about no exceedance of the total number of units that's approved in the DRI. I mean, the DRI is a concept that this council is obviously very familiar with over time. We are moving these units because where they're currently located, they can't be built. And some of you were sitting up there when those approvals went through. And obviously, after a lengthy lawsuit and settlement, we appreciate that the units can't be built there. And the area with the most remaining developable land is the area at the south side nearest the golf course. We got through all of that, and I think we had some questions and the like from staff, from council at first reading. And really a lot of the questions we heard centered around, we understand the reason for this, but we'd like to know a little bit more or understand a little bit more about what's coming. Right before first reading, Lennar Homes had entered into a contract to purchase, in essence, the balance of developable density in the DRI, as well as a very large amount of land that they intend to develop with that allowing, remaining development density. At Councilman Shelley's request at first reading, he suggested that perhaps it would be helpful if we had someone from Lennar this evening available to speak, to maybe give some flavor, some vision to what Lennar is thinking of doing. Obviously, they're still in the early stages of their contract, going through due diligence, and so no final plans or decisions have been made. But I think that there are some important points to mention regarding the golf course, and just generally about the vision of what's coming from Lennar, which is obviously a well-known entity to this community and a well-respected one, that I thought would be helpful for all of you to hear. So Carlos Gonzalez, the division president for Lennar for this area, and someone that I think most, if not all of you, have either met or had before you here for hearings in the past, is available. And I know we did disclose him. I know we're having the snafu with the PowerPoint, but I'm confident we let staff know that Carlos would be speaking this evening. And so what I'd like to do is just let Carlos speak for a couple of minutes, and then I'm available to answer any other questions that you all may have. But again, our request and our lengthier presentation at first reading, this is, yes, a first step in some respects, although finally the last step and the closing of the Solara saga. So we
Good evening. This is Hugo Arza with law offices at 701 Burke.
There we go. That's great. Thank you. So I guess just
We go to Mr. Gonzalez now.
The slide to the aerial. Really, that was it. That's it. And my intent had been to do the conversation with the aerial up just for ease. But again, Carlos is available, and I think your clerk can enable, or Mayor, you can enable them. And then after Carlos speaks, I'd be happy to answer any other questions. We would ask for your support this evening, and appreciate the time that all of you, in disclosing that you met and discussed with me, have taken, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Mr. Arza. Are you ready to queue up Mr. Gonzalez? Is he online and available?
I got a screenshot.
Share the information with us.
Carlos Gonzalez.
He's on, and I will unmute him, sir.
Yeah, he's unmuted now.
Hello?
Sure, there you go.
You can hear me?
We can.
Yes? Okay, great. So this is Carlos Gonzalez. I'm the president of Lennar Southeast Florida Division. My address is 730 Northwest 107th Avenue, 3rd floor, Miami, Florida 33172. Mr. Mayor, council member, and staff, thank you very much for the opportunity to address you tonight. So as Hugo mentioned, we entered into contract with the Keysgate Land Trust, as well as the owners of the existing golf course land and clubhouse. We did that in January, so we're currently under due diligence. It's plus or minus about 350 acres. So that includes some of the sales office site, about 10 acres there, some land to the west, and the area south of Palm Drive, as you can kind of see in the aerial, to include the golf course and clubhouse parcel. A really important aspect of our contract is the development of a 9-hole golf course. And so it is in our agreement that Lennar will be responsible, and I'll stress Lennar is responsible, upon closing, assuming a successful approval, that we would develop that golf course. So we'd have to spend 7 figures you know, probably our estimates are between $2 and $3 million probably to improve that golf course. And we would make that of the highest priority. In addition, the clubhouse, which would be for the benefit of would have two components. That clubhouse would have a bar and restaurant that's open to the public. By the way, the 9-hole golf course, our current plan is to deed that to the CDD at closing. And so both of those elements would be open to, you know, the public. And so people that live in this immediate location, I'm sure, which are clamoring for its use, some of the neighbors I've met with already, people are excited at the possibility of finally being able to use a golf course and hopefully a world-class clubhouse and restaurant and so on. So part of our agreement is also that we're buying the existing clubhouse. We're currently analyzing whether we're going to remodel it, right? So we're really studying the bones of that club and make sure that it makes sense to remodel it, or just we'll demolish it and build new, always preserving a restaurant and bar open to the public. And so those aspects were very, very important. In total, our agreement is also contemplates acquiring the balance of the units in the DRI, which include these 189 units. And so in total, with 350 acres and those units, it would yield, you know, and again, very preliminary, probably a density of just under four homes to the acre. And, you know, as I mentioned, we're in due diligence, hopefully come March. Everything will be as we hope and intend, right? And we'll be able to proceed. And again, just want to stress, it's been a great collaboration. Everything that you're going to do will be done, and I hope you all feel that way. You know, and we're excited to continue our 20-year history with the city of Homestead with this new acquisition. And so with that, if anybody has any questions for me, I'm available. You can ask away.
Council, any initial questions of either Mr. Arza or Mr. Gonzalez? Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. And he may have mentioned it, but the sound was a little off. What's the timeline for the golf course and the clubhouse to be open once you have your green light?
Yeah, is Carlos still enabled to speak? Okay, yeah, Carlos,
Yeah.
The councilwoman's question, I don't know if you heard it, but what's the timeline for opening and getting to work on the clubhouse and the golf course after you close and get your approvals?
So while we're under due diligence, right, we'll finalize our plan of action, and let's assume the overall approval of the whole site, right, golf course, all the homes and so on, the intended overall use gets approved within, 8 months to a year, let's say. Our plan is immediately after closing to seek the necessary permits in order to develop that golf course. And I don't suspect it's going to be a very lengthy process. In fact, the Durham portion of that we would begin while we're seeking our overall approval. So I would guess about 6 months to develop the golf course once we've got the appropriate permits. So you've got the entitlement time, let's say, maybe a few months to permit, and then maybe 6 months to get that golf course done. And the clubhouse is just going to depend whether we remodel or do a new club. But a club, if we started from scratch, would take us no more than 14 to 16 months to build. A renovation would be less than that, would be, let's say, about a year, because it's a very significant club. And we would intend to do both of those up front. And so while we're getting our permits for our vertical construction on our homes, we would be proceeding with development of this on a priority basis. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And then as a follow-up question, I believe you mentioned the golf course would be turned over to the CDD. And if that's the case, then not only would the residents of that community have access to it, but it would be open to the public for public membership, correct? For those who live outside of Keysgate, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. And so we kind of came up with that concept collectively with the sellers, and we really think it is the best vehicle for its long-term maintenance and financial support. And as you know, because it's a quasi-governmental entity, it will be open to the public. You'll have to pay green fees or what have you. But yeah, that's what ensures the public use.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Counsel? Mr. Arza, one of the questions that is repeatedly posed to me by members of the public, and maybe you can, clarify whether or not the baseline perception is correct. I guess it's clear that the former golf course portion that's depicted in Sector 12 here on your diagram would be converted to residential use. And the concern that has been posed to me is that there's something in covenants or some obligation somewhere for the 150 acres of what's called green space or open space that the golf course, the full 18-hole golf course, now satisfies. Is there a substitution of open space or green space, or will there be something potentially before us in the future to reduce the required green space, or does that 150 acres not really exist as designated green space?
Yeah. No, that's a great question, Mayor. We've been looking at that long and hard. What you're referring to is the fact that the DRI considers the golf course open space, and so the percentages, when they're shown, would include all of that. A couple of points. One, the entire golf course is not going away, only half of it, so to your final point, it would never be 150, it would be some smaller percentage. You're correct in the screen that you're seeing there, sort of the eastern half of the golf course with the yellow surrounding the developable area, and then that golf course is where there would be development. But again, open space can be included within that future development. I mean, there's going to be parks, there's going to be open areas, there's going to be green space. I mean, we understand and fully expect to recover the open space that we are removing on the one, removing on the one hand because the golf course is going away or half of it is going away. And as part of the site planning process, and as Mr. Gonzalez mentioned, they are acquiring some land elsewhere in the DRI, and there might come a time when before you, you get a site plan that contemplates that there'll be open space in other parts of the DRI also. So,
substitution.
Exactly. I mean, areas that might have previously been considered for development might be repurposed as open space. This area, which was previously open space, may be reduced but recovered somewhere else. It's a little early for me to give you any details because I can be honest with you. I've seen the bubble site plan, but I haven't seen anything with numbers attached to it or figures or percentages. But the concept is one that we're working on, and we know the requirements, and obviously our expectation is that we will, when we site plan, we will ensure that we meet the open space requirements.
I appreciate that. And again, those are questions that have been repeatedly posed to me by the public. How does that reconcile? And you've gone a long way tonight to explain that. And again, this is just step one of a very long design process, if you will, for all of us. Right. Another question I had is that there was some mention of a CDD. A CDD does not exist at this time for Keys Gate. So this would be an overlay, and I'm going to use round numbers, for the final 1,200 units.
Correct. A CDD would be created for purposes here.
So then essentially, and coming at it from the prospect that those who bought homes fronting or backing up to a golf course had some expectation that they would be, that immediate access to the golf course. Is that CDD in effect then, are these new homes, are they going to have any greater rights or more rights to the use of the golf course or cheaper greens fees? Because you're asking 1,200 new units to pay for the golf course, where those who have been there for years are not. How is that?
I will answer that I do not believe there would be any disparate treatment where the CDD folks would enjoy any special benefits. I mean, the CDD would be created, but I don't think they'd enjoy preferred access or reduced costs. I've never heard anything like that. But I'm happy to let Mr. Gonzalez weigh in if he knows. I mean, it's very early, and obviously the CDD finances haven't been discussed. But Carlos, do you have anything to add to what I just said? Or
Yeah, I do. I do. And so I think it's important to remember that the CDD needs to be, you know, the things that this CDD carries that are going to be borne by the residents, right? There's a sense of fairness to all the users of the golf club, of the golf course, right? And so, for example, the concern that I would have would be, for example, if the residents are contributing X per year, right? Can somebody come in from let's say a neighboring community and play for free, right? And so that wouldn't be fair and equitable. So for us, it's very important we have a team of, you know, attorneys that specialize in CDDs. And so we would make sure that it's equitable for all parties. And so there, in all likelihood, there would be green fees that all would pay, and or maybe some other incremental membership that some people may choose to participate in, albeit for the club or something else, right? But the key here is that it be equitable for all parties using the golf course and equitable to those residents that are in fact have the golf course in that CDD, right? So does that answer your question?
It does, and again, I know this is early in the process, but I'm kind of anticipating issues that are going to come up. You know, tonight in reality, we're solely talking about relocating 189 units, but we all understand this is a bigger picture issue, and CDDs and golf courses and open spaces are important to those who are already there and will be impacted by this. And again, I just wanted to raise the issue and just be sure that was something that we all know will be on the table in the future.
If I may, and I don't know if Carlos mentioned it, I think he might have mentioned it or referred to it, but Carlos has already met with neighbors in that area. So a lot of the questions and concerns that you're hearing, including the open space and the golf course question, were questions that have been made directly to us. And if I didn't say it before, I'll say it now. I know I said it in some conversations with all of you. My full expectation, and all of you have worked with me now for a long time, is that once Lennar gets past its due diligence phase and starts preparing site plans, that we're gonna seek to come back and sit with all of you. Maybe by springtime or early summer, we can do so in person safely, and we'll be able to show a lot of the details of what's going on. So if I didn't say that previously, I know I mentioned it in my calls. Our hope is that next step tonight, subsequent steps, we'll be able to meet and then start putting some real teeth to this with the site plan so that you can all see what we're proposing.
Thank you, Mr. Arza. Are there any further questions or comments from council? Councilman Shelley.
Thank you, Mayor. You ask a lot of, I think, questions that I had also heard and other things that people have discussed out and about. I think I also wanted to, and you reiterated it, this is kind of step one, that some of those items that you discussed are not necessarily before us, because you start mentioning CDDs. I mean, we already know I don't like the townhomes, so now you've got two things that I'm not really looking forward to. However, what I think did come from the conversation, though, and I think it was very good to have Carlos here and have him speak, is, to hear kind of his vision firsthand, but because I think that does help alleviate some concerns that at least he is making this golf course and a clubhouse concept, one of the priorities of this project that he's going to build everything else around, making sure that product is built and hopefully is to the satisfaction of the community and provides that amenity that everybody's looking for. So I think in that respect it's good, but I just want to reiterate that, it is tonight limited to the moving of density from one place to another place. All of the other items are to become before us, as you talk about open space and whether or not we, allow that to be eliminated. Is there a future amendment that has to come forward in order to? So all that is still to be hashed out, hopefully to the benefit of everybody and a win-win situation. But I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that you gotten some of the discussion items are things that I'm not comfortable with, but I'm okay with where we are right now. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Shelley. Council members?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Fletcher?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow council members. I appreciate the questions that you had and the statements of Councilman Shelley. I'm going to go on a little rant here for a second, but I do have a question at the end of it. But ultimately, this is the district that I live in and serve the community of Homestead with. These are the folks that elected me to represent their best interest. Past history, there have been promises made, in my opinion, in bad faith to the residents of this community for years. Frivolous lawsuits and backroom bills continue to disrupt, potential improvement to this property. This community was built and sold as a golf course community from the get-go. The neighborhood is called the Fairways. What does that make you think of? Golf. We have Augusta Greens. We have Dunwoody, Murrayfield Terrace, all relating back to golf course venues. So I'm leaning towards supporting this application tonight based on the feedback from the community members that are most affected. But I do have some general reservations based on the history of what's happened on this property. I've had discussions with the applicant and with the Lennar folks who may become the future landowner. They've informed me of the general promise of a limited 9-hole golf course venue. Now, in my years of expertise in the golf reign, I believe that a 9-hole golf course is not going to be successful. However, that's what the community wants at this point in time. My question is, what assurances or are there any legal obligations, if any, that we can impose to ensure that the limited development of at least a 9-hole golf course, as promised by the applicant, can be implemented?
So it was a little hard to understand. It was a little hard to understand at the beginning. Carlos, if you give me 1 second. Okay. But I did hear the end of the question, kind of what are the assurances that we can give. I have not engaged in long conversations with your city attorney and city attorneys, plural, regarding how we sort of address and give the comfort necessary as part of the next phase of the process. But, I do think that in connection with the approvals that we will seek, the site plan approvals and everything else that we're going to need as part of the process, up to and including the resolution of support for a CDD and the like, that we will be able to craft assurances that are tied to, metrics and obligations that Lennar will have to live up to at that time. It's not possible to do so tonight, and then we discussed that at first reading, simply because Lennar is not, an applicant or anyone that's, directly able to make a commitment of that nature. But the real genesis and reason for having Carlos speak to all of you is to give you the sense and the commitment, and I think you've heard from him, this is something they're going to tackle on day one. This is not going to be built 10 years down the road. And so in that similar vein, I don't anticipate we'll have any issue working with staff when the time comes as part of those approvals to make sure that the assurances, the legal hook, for lack of a better word, is in place to ensure that as the development project moves forward, the golf course redevelopment and the clubhouse redevelopment also moves forward. Sorry, Carlos, I just wanted to make sure I didn't lose my train of thought to the legal question, but I'd love to hear if you had anything else on that.
No, Hugo, you said it well. The only thing I would add to that is I want to restate that we did include it in our contract that we are obligated to do it, and we were happy to do that. We view this, Councilman Fletcher, no different than your sentiments reflect, that this is a golf course community. And so we intend to market a community around the lifestyle of golf and a world-class clubhouse. And so, and those covenants that Hugo's referencing would certainly be something that we would be okay with. We'd, on the hook, the contract even says that it would be of a significant priority and urgency, right, for us to proceed in this manner with developing that golf course up front and working on this clubhouse as well. So hopefully that answers your question, Councilman.
Thank you for that, Carlos. I do appreciate both you and Hugo's answer there. You've been a pleasure to work with from the beginning, and I appreciate that. But, from a city side, asking city attorneys, are there any specific language that we could add in future applications? That are there legal obligations that we can impose, or is this strictly limited up to the landowner?
Councilman Fletcher, to answer your question, at this time, there's not any condition that we could impose onto this approval. However, as previously mentioned, there are several layers of regulations that would need to be approved and reviewed to realize this future residential development. I think the most important thing is the fact that if there's going to be, as Mr. Arza indicated in his presentation, at some point there's going to be an elimination or a proposed elimination of half of the golf course, which currently golf course is reserved between two sectors and is allocated as 75 acres per sector for open space. And so any modification or change to that is going to necessitate another amendment to the DRI master plan. And so I think at that juncture, certainly we can start looking at things and have discussions or conversations with the applicant. I think certainly there's nothing to preclude them from proffering declarations or proffering aspects of their intent with respect to the golf course and with respect to the clubhouse. But with respect to site planning of a development, I don't know exactly how this is going to be come in, if this is going to be a phased development, if it's going to be one site plan that's going to show a neighborhood of 1,200 units. I have no idea, but I certainly think that we have the ability at that juncture to require that these developments have some sort of amenities for the property owners, which would include a clubhouse, a pool, things of that nature. So there is some ability for us on the back end to be able to control some of these amenities.
Okay, I appreciate the answer there, James. That answers my question at this time. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Fletcher. Anything further from council before I open the public hearing for comment from the public? All right. Is there anyone online wishing to speak on this matter?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Lawrence Mino.
Go ahead, Mr. Reno.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hope everybody's doing well this evening. I'm going to jump right into it. Mr. Gonzalez referenced per 4 units per acre. I'm just wondering if he could clear that up for me. Are we talking 4 per acre on the surrounding area, which would be the old hotel site, which is approximately 44.5 acres from the tennis courts east, the back 9, which you've indicated is roughly 75 acres, and then of course sector 12, which is outlined at the bottom for Mr. Arza, which in the last meeting he had said that my math was off, but if you go to miamidade.gov and you look at the square footage of sector 12, it's a little over 4 million, and you divide that out, it's a little over 93 acres, and he had said the average was 7, but I think we're over that at this point. My question to Mr. Gonzalez is, are you proposing single-family homes on the 3 parcels that I mentioned here? The property on Palm Drive, the back 9, and sector 12.
Mr. Arza.
Yeah, I mean, you know, 2 points. I mean, one on the acreage and unit calculation, I had a conversation with Mr. Gonzalez beforehand. I think I won the bet that you know, there would be a question. He's referring to the totality of land that Lennar is under contract to purchase from the various entities. That includes currently developable land, that includes land that is designated commercial today up by the sales center. It includes a parcel of land up in the northwest corner of the DRI. It includes there's an area up there. There's a 20-acre parcel up there, Mayor. It includes obviously the entirety of the golf course, which is, let's call it roughly speaking, 150 acres. So when you add all of that up, I trust Mr. Gonzalez, his transactional counsel, I'm sure attached an accurate exhibit. It adds up to about 350 acres of land. And if roughly speaking, there's 1,300 or so units left, and again, let's not quibble on the last details, that math, even for a lawyer, yields you about 4 units to the acre. That, to the speaker's point, doesn't mean that every acre is 4 units. It doesn't mean that right around it. We don't have a site plan yet for how all of this is going to be developed, but I think the point that Carlos certainly wanted to make by talking about the investment that Lennar is making is that they are buying 350 acres to make sure that this is a world-class community, to be able to keep half of it as a golf course, half of a golf course open, to be able to provide for the open space that the DRI requires. They're not just buying whatever the minimum amount of acreage is to be able to build their community. And so, Carlos, if you want to touch on any other point, but I knew that the math would probably come back to...
Yeah,
to be a
there's,
question.
the math is this. There's 1,300... Hold on, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there's 1,343 units based on our calculations left in the DRI, and that we've agreed would be part of our acquisition. And there's a totality of 350 acres. We'd cluster in some areas different types of products, but as Hugo accurately represented, it's a density among all the acreage. We did make a commitment because the seller has been speaking to the residents at length over a number of years that the area adjacent to the fairway, right? Let's say the 9 holes, right? That we would be building and developing, right? Not developing with homes, but we'd be let's say we do the golf course. That would all be layered with 7,500 square foot home sites, so big estate single family homes. And so we agreed to that in our contract. So I'm not sure if that's sector 12. I apologize that I don't know that right now, but it's or what sector that is. But we would try and move, you know, from the single families that are in the fairways and in Augusta Greens and just continuing that way towards the east. All of that would be layered with bigger homes, and then we'd cluster more density over further to the east. So hopefully that answers your question, but we did make that and thinking that would be responsive to the residents here in other ways.
My question, Mr. Gonzalez, Sector 12, yes, I've heard the same thing, 7,500 square foot lot sizes. My question is the back 9, that is not Sector 12, about 70 plus acres there, and then of course the land on Palm Drive. My question is, are all 3 components of that land going to be single family homes?
So within there, again, the very preliminary, because we're in diligence and working through a site plan on what's feasible. Within there, we'd have a blend of product, okay? And so really until we have the final site plan and we agree that we're going to proceed with the purchase, I can't give you the exact answer as to what's going to go exactly where. But certainly that would be something we'd be presenting formally to the city and to the residents, and everyone would have a voice through that public process.
Okay, so those 3 areas are not going to be limited to just single family homes. There's a possibility that there could be higher density villas and townhouses. Is that accurate?
There is that possibility.
That's another hearing for another day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what's more accurate to say is we don't know exactly what's going to go in every exact location. Mr. Gonzalez referred to the commitment, just like the golf course remaining open for 9 holes, to build the single-family homes adjacent to the fairways.
Look,
but beyond those,
I'm excited. I'm excited, Mr. Arza. I respect what Lennar's done in our community. I'm not questioning their integrity. You have to understand, we've gone through a lot with the other applicant over the years, and nothing would make me happier to see Lennar do what they say they're going to do and it be a done deal. Because a couple things would happen. One, we'd have our recreation component back, our golf course, and our bar and grill. And two, Keysgate would be sold out and they would have to turn the association over. So this would be a win-win for everybody.
Good, Mr. Arza? Okay, all right. I'm going to take a moment and we're going to, I guess, suspend this portion of the public hearing for just a couple of moments. We had our new District 8 Commissioner on board. She's here with us and wants to take a few minutes to introduce herself to us and our community. They ran late today, and I know she has another meeting and very pressed for time. So without further ado, our new District 8 Commissioner, Danielle Cohen-Higgins. Welcome to Homestead. Thank you for coming down tonight.
It is such a pleasure to be here. Is the mic on or do I need to push anything? It is. Okay. It is such a pleasure to be in the beautiful Homestead City Hall. I see some familiar faces. And thank you very much for having me. I wanted to come in person to say hello, to introduce myself to those that have not met me, and to share a little bit about myself and to share some of the priorities that we are focusing on at the Commission. I did just leave downtown. We had a very long Commission meeting today, some very important agenda items. But before I get into that, again, for those who don't know me, I'm born and raised here. I'm a product of this community. I'm a product of our Miami-Dade public school system. And now I'm so thrilled and honored to have the opportunity to serve in this capacity as the District 8 Commissioner for South Dade. You know, I also think it's important to note that I am very familiar with the issues that are most important to all of us. These are not tangential issues. These are not talking points that were sent to me from a consultant. I live these issues, whether it's traffic, whether it's traveling north in the mornings to take our children to school or to go to work, whether it's relying on our public transportation, which my mother has done for the last 20 years here in Miami-Dade County, whether it's being a small business owner or a mother of young children and navigating online school in the middle of this pandemic. The issues that are most pressing to us, they are my issues. And so I am intimately involved in being a very strong advocate and champion, not just for District 8, but for South Dade. And you know, today that advocacy really was highlighted at the Board of County Commission meeting. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to watch the meeting or portions thereof, but my colleague, Commissioner McGee, had a very impassioned speech as he continued his fight for rail. And I congratulated him and I applauded him for that fight because it's a fight that is worth fighting. And we have never had South Dade as strong as we do now because District 8 and District 9 is united in their fight to make sure that South Dade gets its fair share, whether that's in the form of rail or BRT or shifting to converting to rail as quickly as possible. Commissioner McGee is a trial attorney. I am a trial attorney by trade. I've been practicing as a litigator for the last 15 years, and I've had the incredible honor and opportunity to be an aggressive and an effective advocate on behalf of my individual clients. And now I am really thrilled to have the honor to be an aggressive and an effective advocate on behalf of the residents of District 8. So I won't take up too much of your time. I want to let you know that I'm here. I look forward to working with you on all of the issues that are most critical to us. Please email me or call our office anytime. Partnership with our municipalities is key and critical, whether it's CARES Act funding, whether it's dealing with development, whether it's dealing with traffic. We are going to be responsive and we are going to be an ear to you. You may have heard me say this once or twice before, but I, along with my colleague, Commissioner McGee, fully recognize that the county line does not end at Dadeland. And it's high time that the Board of County Commissioners take recognition of those of us in South Dade, and that time is happening right now. So it's really a pleasure. It's really an honor. I look forward to coming back to as many meetings as you'll have me, because this really is, I say service doesn't exist in our title. Instead, it exists in our hearts. Before I had the opportunity to serve as a commissioner, I served on boards. I did as much for my community as I could in that capacity. And now I just get to continue to serve with this title of being your commissioner. So thank you so much, Mayor, councilmen, councilwomen. It's really a pleasure to be here tonight. I don't know if we're taking questions or if that's for another meeting, but I simply wanted to come and say hello, and I'm here for you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and our door is always open.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Mayor. Any
Council,
questions or?
anything quickly? Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank the Commissioner for being here today. I want to also take this opportunity, since you're here, to extend an invitation for you to meet face-to-face with the constituents of our community, and the Clubhouse of Malibu Bay is making itself available to you to host that meeting if you'd like.
I look forward to it. Thank you
Thank you.
very much, Councilwoman. Thank you again.
Thank you.
It's been a
Mayor,
pleasure.
if I may?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Oh, we're,
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to welcome Commissioner Danielle Cohen-Higgins back to the Homestead community. I'm excited that you are one of our representatives in the South. I am confident that you are going to be a passionate and compassionate advocate on behalf of all of us in the Deep South. You were very visible in your quest to become a commissioner. I admire your work ethic, and I feel as if you're going to bring a lot of value, and I look forward to partnering with you to champion the issues that matters most to us in the city of Homestead. Thank you for reaching out to me and extending the invitation to meet, and I look forward to further conversations, collaborations, and discussions with you. All the best to you as you move forth in service.
thank you very much, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to my colleagues and those in the audience, thank you for indulging us for a few moments. For, having a commissioner in our midst has not really been the norm over decades here, and I think it's evident that the tide is turning. So with that, did we have anyone else online? We do.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Next is Ram.
Good
Please
evening.
go ahead, Graham. Mhm.
How you doing? Romero Horta, 2040 Southeast 19th Street. And this is a 2-for-1. Commissioner Higgins, hi, this is Romero. Once again, thank you for reaching out as well, and I look forward to our meeting as well. And I wish you nothing but success on your endeavors, and if there's anything that I can do, please let us know. But back to the conversation at hand. To the representative, all I heard was the builder not committing to building single family homes, also not committing to other things. My concern is, why is council moving forward with no master plan, no presentation with lovely pictures, and basically no plan at all? My thing is that if I don't want high density in my district, because just like Mr. Mano, this is my backyard. We don't need it, we don't want it, but unfortunately, we are forced to follow through. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask was, if I'm not mistaken, the other builder wanted to build these new homes with shingles. Is he going to follow through with that, or did that plan change? And I just wanted to ask the rep once again, are you committing to just building single-family homes, or does that include condos and townhouses?
Good, Mr. Arza.
Yeah, I'll endeavor to try and answer this one. I think I had tried to reach out to Mr. Orta at some point. I think he's confusing the projects. I think the project he's referring to with shingles and the like is a project outside of the DRI that I presented before you last year in December. That has nothing to do with this project, so I would just tell Mr. Orta, I mean, if he wants to call me for an update on that project, I'd be happy to give him one. But we don't have any plans yet. Those decisions haven't been made. This proposed project will, obviously contain a mix of units in the future by Lennar. I think you've heard that from Carlos and others, and it'll, obviously be something that in some respects is familiar to all of you, but I think Mr. Orta is confusing the projects. The conversation regarding shingles was for a different project outside the DRI back in December. This item was before you in January for first reading, and obviously there's no pretty pictures because there's no site plan and none of the like. So hopefully, I'd be happy to clarify that with him, offline. He can give me a call tomorrow, and I can walk him through anything. So.
Thank you, Mr. Arza. Is there anyone else online wishing to speak on this matter?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Is there anyone?
He didn't.
Is that Mr. Orta?
Yes.
You've got a few seconds left, Mr. Orta.
He didn't ask a question. I asked, is getting to single home houses those above density?
We couldn't understand anything. You're breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Can he commit to just building single-family homes, or does that, or is that other plans involved?
Yeah, we cannot, I'm sorry. This area is an area that provides for the construction of single-family homes as well as townhomes and multifamily in some cases, which is, I know, not necessarily Lennar's intent. But this is the DRI. That's a question that I think I remember from the December hearing at a very different property. But here, the DRI does allow for different unit types. So we will, develop in accordance with the DRI.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Arza.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orta. All right, is there anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Mr. Powell, come on down. I know it's been a while, but you haven't forgotten what it takes.
Hey, well, I can't hear, and now I got to talk through a mask. So we got the hearing gone, and we can't hear. So bear with me. Haven't been here in a year. Mayor, I talk with you all the time. We correspond. I email all of you, and I don't hear from anybody but you. I heard from Mr. Fletcher. I got one response from Ms. Avila, and she questioned one of my questions. We never got an answer about water. And I got a long-winded thing from Jim about water rates and stuff. So I just want to make sure you're here. I want to make sure you're safe because I don't hear from you. I got my COVID shot at the hospital. Guess what? I'm one of the seniors. I got it with your father, as a matter of fact. Bill and I got shot together. Okay, matter of hand. This happens to be ordinance 2016-0506. That's when I was on planning and zoning. There's 20 changes in front of this 2006. Since then, how many more? 20, 30, 40? Okay, now we're looking at the question of 189 units. That's the question. It's not what are we going to build, what are we going to do, who said what, who promised anything. That's the discussion. Like they told us at planning and zoning, we're here to hear this, not that, not all this other stuff. We're here because, and you proved 189 last hearing. So it's a done deal. The problem is the math, density. I don't care if you divide 1,100 by 94, 1,200 by 94, it's over 10. And we put moratoriums in 10 years ago for 6 or 8. So that they're grandfathered in already for, 1,000? And that's over 10. End of discussion. They don't have to put 189 in. They can put 1,000 and go home. The next item is the golf course. They don't want to get involved in. It's a pain to them. It's like a stepchild. They're going to have to be stuck for a golf course. They're going to be like Thompson, who owned it before. He didn't take care of it. It was ill-maintained. Who's going to supervise it? Who's going to hold their feet to the fire? And who's going to maintain it? And why doesn't the city take it and run it? Because all you council people don't want golf courses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? All right. Mr. Arza, any rebuttal, any final comments?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I think it's all been said. Appreciate the opportunity to present before you. I hope that between Mr. Gonzalez and I tonight and at first reading, we addressed and answered your questions. We look forward to meeting with all of you in the coming months as we move ahead with this project and continue to work with the city. We ask for your favorable vote this evening, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. And I just want to note, although at the first reading, we asked for this broader discussion just to have a feel for where this may go. And I appreciate you and Mr. Gonzalez coming down and really going beyond the scope of the immediate hearing before us. And I know that some of the issues we touched on tonight will be some tough decisions and probably some close votes as the final development occurs. So again, thank you. So with that, I'll close the public hearing and I'll entertain a motion for approval on second reading of this item.
Move it.
Moved by Councilman Roth.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Avila. All right. So anything further from council? Let's have a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth,
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila,
Yes.
Councilman Shelley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers,
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Good evening, Mr. Arza. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Mr. White, tab 5.
Yes. Yes, Mayor. Moving on to tab 5. Tab 5 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a waiver of plat requested by Kings Highway LLC for the division of property totaling approximately 0.58 acres, generally located north of Northwest 15th Street, east of Northwest 2nd Avenue, south of Northwest 16th Street, and west of Northwest 1st Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. Mayor, I received notice that the applicant's representatives who are logging in remotely via web, they were unable to log in at the time that we swore witnesses. So I think it's Mr. Perez and Ms. Brenner or anyone else who's online will need to be sworn in at this time by the clerk.
Please raise your right hand. Do you hereby swear?
But with the cameras on, please. For those swearing in.
Pardon me? Okay. Do you hereby swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God?
Ms. Brenner, Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. White?
That's fine, Mayor. So at this time, I'll turn it, you can have staff.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cordino?
Yes, sir. The staff recommends that the mayor and council approve the waiver of plat request to build the 3 single-family residents on lots 5, 6, and 7, Block 8 in the Downer Palm subdivision. This item came before us in a different form a while back. Council asked that they go back and do this waiver of plat to make sure all the lots were of equal size, and that's what they're doing. Each of the lots will have a frontage of about 63 feet, a depth of 135 feet, and they'll have lot areas of about 8,507 feet apiece, which is above the minimum of 7,500 square feet. So we're recommending approval of this.
Thank you, Mr. Corradino.
You're welcome, sir.
Are there any initial questions from council? Questions? All right, is the someone present on behalf of the applicant who would like to speak to this item?
Mr. Perez, maybe?
Yes, I'm here.
Please go ahead.
Do you want to speak? You can go ahead and speak, Leticia.
Good afternoon. Nice to meet you again. This is just a waiver of plat. We have 3 lots that we already have all the categories approved for building. And now the only issue was the lots that we are 3 lots and one of them was bigger than the other ones. We applied for the waiver of plat. We present the new surveys with the lots. Each lot will be 89 feet by 135 feet each. We present the survey, we present the opinion of title, and we present the site plan prepared by the architect. And that's, I think that we complete and comply with all the requirements.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else online wishing to speak on this matter? Any member of the public?
Mr. Mayor, we see Ram still has their hand up, and Fernando Vargas.
Do we know Ram may have been still remaining from the prior hearing? Is there anyone other than the applicant online wishing to speak on this matter? All right. Is there anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? I'll close the public hearing then and ask for a motion for approval of the waiver of plat under tab 5.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Councilwoman Avila.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Roth. Any final questions or comments from council? Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fairclough Staggers?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
A unanimous approval. Thank you. Congratulations. Look forward to it. The applicant.
Thank you very
everyone.
much. We
Thank you.
appreciate
Good
it.
night.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Next item, tab 6.
Yes, tab 6, 7, and tab 8 are all related applications for the same proposed development. The first is a special exception, the second is a proposed site plan, and then the tab 8 relates to a certificate of use for the sale of beer and wine. I can introduce each of those. You could have a collective discussion, public hearing, and then take a vote separately on each one of those items.
Let's do that. Thank you.
So tab 6 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving a special exception requested by HRES Campbell LLC to permit an approximately 4,650 square foot convenience store with 10 ancillary self-service gasoline pumps on an approximately 2.27 acre parcel of land, generally located on Northeast 8th Street, Campbell Drive, between 13th Avenue and 15th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. Tab 7 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the request by HRES Campbell LLC for an amendment to a previously approved site plan for the development of an approximately 4,650 square foot convenience store, 10 ancillary self-service gasoline pumps, and a machine-operated car wash on an approximately 2.27 acre parcel of land, generally located on Northeast 8th Street, Campbell Drive, between Northeast 13th Avenue and 15th Avenue. It's legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. And last is tab 8, which is a final order of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a certificate of use requested by HRES Campbell LLC to permit the sale of beer and wine for off-premises consumption in conjunction with the operation of an approximately 4,650 square foot convenience store with ancillary gas pumps and a car wash on 2.27 acre parcel of land, generally located on Campbell Drive between Northeast 13th Avenue and 15th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. White. Mr. Cordino.
Yes, sir. As the attorney said, this is a combination of 3 different applications for a 7-Eleven. They're amending a site plan in the Sunny Lee development, which was done off Campbell in about 2016, 2017. On the east side of that, outside the entrance, they want to put the 7-Eleven. So to do that, they have to have 3 applications. The first one is the special exception. That is for the gas pumps. The second one is the site plan, which is the physical property, the building that they're doing, with all of the stuff that's going to be there, the actual building and the car wash and all that. And the last one is the certificate of use, and that is for the alcohol sales off premises. So to do all together, pumps, site plan, and alcohol, you have these 3 things. We reviewed it to the code. It all fits. We're recommending approval.
Thank you. Any initial questions or comments from council? Mr. Cordino, does this include the restriction of having to be closed between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m.? Is that one of the built-in items in the code? Typically, we see that when there are convenience store type uses.
This is operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay, so is that part of the, that's part of the special exception request?
That is part of the special exception.
Okay.
No, that is part, yes, that is the site plan, that the 7-Eleven convenience store will be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay. The applicant's representative is present, if you want to come forward and give us your name and address for the record. Let me, there we go, you're on.
Good evening. Pedro Gasson of Holland Knight with offices at 701 Brickell Avenue. On behalf of HRES Campbell LLC, I'm joined this evening by my colleague James Williams. Just to address the first issue with respect to the 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., that's a direct result of the special exception that we're requesting. I would ask that staff put up the pre-recorded presentation that we have that will go through, will provide for a basis of our request this evening. Thank you so much, and I'll be here for any questions that you have.
Thank you.
Good evening. Pedro Gasson of Holland Knight with offices at 701 Brickell Avenue. I'm joined virtually this evening by my colleague James Williams, also of Holland Knight. We're also joined this evening by Kathleen Hess and Brooks Bird as representatives of HRES Campbell LLC, as well as by our illustrious traffic engineer, Carl Peterson. And we're here this evening for an application concerning a portion of approximately 5.7 acres that is located immediately south of Campbell Drive and west of Northeast 15th Avenue in the city of Homestead. This property had been previously approved on its entirety for several retail buildings, a restaurant, and a bank. Our portion of the property is on the eastern portion of the site and comprises 2.27 acres. On this portion of the property, there was previously approved a 4,500 square foot restaurant with 236 indoor seats and a 15,000 square foot retail building. Our applications tonight seek to substantially reduce the footprint of the development by developing a 4,650 square foot convenience store with accompanying gas station and automatic car wash, while eliminating the previously approved 15,000 square foot retail facility on the site. There are 3 requests that are before you tonight. First, we are requesting a site plan amendment to permit the significant reduction in the construction footprint. Second, we are seeking a special exception to permit the 7-Eleven convenience store with an accompanying gas station and automatic car wash. And third, we are requesting a certificate of use to allow for the sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption. There are 5 broad reasons why we believe these requests should be approved by the City Council. First, it is consistent with and in furtherance of both the land use designation and zoning classification for the site. Second, it will substantially reduce the footprint of the development while providing for a much-needed convenience store and gas station for the eastbound traveling public on Campbell Drive. Third, the architectural and landscape features of the plan are consistent with the architectural and landscape requirements adopted by the city in December of 2019 for the Campbell Drive corridor. Fourth, the applications will reduce traffic. And finally, the applications will bring a corporate citizen that will be strongly engaged with the community. First, Our requests are consistent with the land use designation and zoning classification for the site. Our site has a land use designation of light commercial use and a zoning classification of B2 retail commercial. Both the land use designation and the zoning permits a convenience store with an accompanying gas station and automatic car wash. We note that we are not seeking any variances as part of these applications tonight, and that the development will fully comply with the regulations of the B2 zoning district. Our first request is to amend the previously approved site plan to permit a more modest development on the eastern portion of the property. This is a depiction of the previous approval. As you can see, on the eastern portion of the site, there is a 4,500 square foot restaurant with 236 indoor seats and a 15,000 square foot retail facility immediately south of it. Our site plan provides for a much more modest development for a small convenience store, gas station, and car wash as depicted on this plan. When the projects are compared, our request will eliminate the 236-seat restaurant and 15,000 square foot retail facility and replace it with a more modest project. In sum, when you compare the previous approval to the proposed development, there is a net reduction of 13,870 square feet. Thus, the approval of the site plan modification will substantially reduce the building footprint on the site. In December 2019, the City Council approved, among other things, a set of architectural and landscape requirements for commercial developments in the Campbell Corridor. As you can notice from merely a quick glance of these elevations, this is a unique 7-Eleven design. The design incorporates arches, ornamental details, a step parapet, with color changes along the facade to prevent there being any blank walls on the facade. And it is all consistent with the design features created by the city at section 30-538 of the city's code. In addition, the design incorporates 360-degree architecture to ensure that there are not any blank walls on the building. As you can see from this graphic, the ornamentations, vertical architectural treatments, and modest color changes continues on both the east and west facades of the building. Furthermore, this development will be lushly landscaped. As part of our plans, we will be planting 76 new trees and 890 shrubs to provide a commercial development that is lushly enveloped in greenery. Our second request is to permit the convenience store, gas station, and car wash. Staff diligently evaluated the request and determined that it would satisfy all of the special exception criteria and that it would be compatible with the nearby area, consistent with the comprehensive plan and code, and would meet the demands of workers and city residents, as well as the patrons traveling through the Campbell Drive corridor. Consistent with staff recommendation, we would respectfully request that the City Council approve the special exception. Our third request is for a certificate of use to permit the sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption. Staff also evaluated this request and determined that it would not generate excessive noise or traffic and would not create a fire or other dangerous hazard. Staff also determined that it would not endanger public health, safety, and welfare, and would be compatible with the nearby area as it is surrounded on all sides by commercial uses. In sum, staff determined that our request meets the certificate of use requirements established by the city's code, and we would respectfully request that the City Council approve our certificate of use. Our request tonight will also help to address a demonstrable need in the area. From US 1 to the Turnpike, on the south side of Campbell, there is not one gas station that serves the eastbound traveling public. Thus, our request will address a need by providing a gas station for the eastbound traveling public coming from US 1 and will prevent cars from having to make a U-turn just to obtain gas. In addition, the proposed use will substantially reduce traffic when compared to the previous approval. The FDOT recently analyzed gas stations and determined that most of the traffic generated by gas stations are already on the road and do not constitute new trips. Specifically, the FDOT has determined that approximately 78% of the vehicle trips that go to gas stations are trips that were already on the road. Thus, when comparing our modest convenience store and gas station to the previously approved 4,500 square foot restaurant with 236 seats and a 15,000 square foot retail facility, our proposal reduces the amount of trips by 75 trips in the AM peak hour and by 53 trips in the PM peak hour. Furthermore, for our request, we have received no objections from any of the departmental staff here at the city or at the county. Given the substantial reduction in the development's footprint, the project's consistency with the land use and zoning, the beautiful and lushly landscaped aspects of the plans, and the reduction in traffic, staff has rightfully recommended approval of our request. Finally, this board's recommendation of approval will help to allow for a community-oriented company to be developed on the site. 7-Eleven's Project A-Game has awarded over $2.3 million in grants to underwrite initiatives including science projects, tutoring, school supplies, and sporting equipment to ensure that children have the resources and inspiration that they need to thrive in school. In addition, 7-Eleven's Operation Chill provides law enforcement officers with the opportunity to ticket kids they observe doing good deeds or exhibiting positive behavior. The ticket is actually a coupon good for a free 12-ounce Slurpee and helps to provide community engagement. It is for these reasons that we strongly believe that the site plan amendment, special exception, and certificate of use should be approved by the City Council. Thank you for your time. We're here to answer any questions, and we would like to reserve some time for rebuttal if necessary. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, I'd turn it back to council with any questions or comments they may have on any of these three applications. Councilwoman?
Mr. Mayor.
I'll defer to Fletcher.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm leaning towards supporting this applicant. However, I do have one question. On the southeast corner of the property, it abuts the Phoenix Apartments. With the car wash being on the south side of that building, have we looked at the noise abatement needed to help prevent that noise from traveling into those apartment complexes?
Yeah, so what we've done is we've provided for a lush landscaping. If you look at the plan that we've provided on the eastern and southern portion of the site, you're going to have a lush landscape that's provided upon the property, and there's a significant distance between that car wash and the apartment that's to the southeast of our site. So we don't anticipate that there's going to be an issue with respect to any noise issues for the site impacting, especially from the car wash to the apartments to the southeast.
Okay, and one final question as well. The lighting that's going to be utilized for the parking lot and those surrounding areas, are they going to be directional so you're not getting glare over into that area as well?
I think the same issue would be addressed with respect to the number of trees that we're planting. Given that we're planting about 73 trees on the site, we do not anticipate that you're going to have an issue with respect to the lighting being a glare on the nearby property. And I think that a lot of that, whatever glare would have existed, are going to be enveloped within that lush landscaping that we're providing on the site, particularly because of the city's code that you adopted back in December of 2019. The requirements of the landscape code requires a significant buffer along any property that's along the Campbell Drive corridor, so we don't anticipate that that's going to be an issue for this property and for this development.
Okay, I understand that. And just one final question. If and when this is approved and built and we start getting complaints from the neighboring communities, will we be able to come back and address additional measures that might mitigate any of those concerns that may be addressed?
Absolutely. So I think one of the core things that we want to do as any development team that we advise, we always tell them that it's important for us to be good neighbors because this is not the only project that we're going to have in the city. So to the extent that there are any issues with respect to complaints or any of those items, we would be happy to address them with development services or co-compliance to ensure that we can continue to be good neighbors and develop in a friendly manner within the city.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make the comment that I think a lot of our residents will be happy to be able to make a right turn into a gas station going east on Campbell Drive, as I do and as many of my community residents in Malibu Bay and Waterstone have to do. We have to make a left into the nearest gas station on the way home from the west side. So I look forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Council? A question I had, and the reproduction of the site plan here in our package is difficult to read, and I didn't catch it there on either your landscaping slide or your site plan slide. And they kind of give you some background on why I'm asking this. Lately, in my crusade to rid the city of illegal signage, after the issue of abandoned shopping carts seems to be unsightly dumpsters. Can you go back or talk about, is the dumpster placed in an area, is it either enclosed or is it not visible around the side or the back? I didn't catch it here on your slide, and that's just something I think that, we're going to begin looking at. I know our CRA has been looking at even, enhancing and providing some assistance there so they're not just sitting out in the open. Was that provided for in any of our site plans or the landscaping plans?
Absolutely. So one of the things that happened while we were going through the development process with development services in particular was that they wanted to make sure that one, it was enclosed, and that two, there was landscape features to help buffer the dumpster from being seen. So we had that discussion with development services while we went through the site plan process and the site plan amendment process in particular. So we were able to get that addressed. So it's an enclosed dumpster site that has landscaping immediately adjacent to it to help buffer the aesthetic effects of that dumpster.
Very good, thank you. And to kind of piggyback on Councilwoman's comments, another thing that I'm really happy to see is that this is signalized ingress and egress, that we're not going to have the issue of someone leaving and trying to make a left-hand turn against traffic without the benefit of a signal. And I recall that, over many, many years, this Sunny Lee project was, that was an issue there, the provision of the signal at the intersection. And, it took a long time, but I think it's really, a lot of things are coming together there. A new, clean, well-lit 24-hour coming from that direction so that people don't generally have to turn against traffic to access it. So anything further from council? No? Is there anyone online wishing to speak on this matter?
Actually, Mayor, I would like to speak.
Or Vice Mayor, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, thank you. My question to the applicant, in the presentation, you mentioned that you're strong corporate citizens, and you cited examples of how you supported the community. In some communities in the north, I've seen that you partner with schools and provided contributions. What can we expect 7-Eleven to do in the city of Homestead, and what is the plan of action to be able to build a relationship with our local schools and police department?
Absolutely. So I'll address the second aspect of it first, because there are two different programs that 7-Eleven provides. So the Operation Chill program is a program that the City of Homestead's police is already involved in. So once the 7-Eleven gets open and operated, the City of Homestead's police department will have access to those tickets, if you will, that they'll be able to ticket kids who they see doing good deeds to provide them with the 12-ounce Slurpee. With respect to the Project A game, which is the first question, Vice Mayor, that you raised, that's something that I think will be something for further discussion, and I think that our team would be happy to continue that dialogue as to what we can do with respect to different donations and grants. That portion of the plan is something that the corporate aspect of 7-Eleven puts into a fund, and that the local franchisees also donate to ensure that the local communities and local community schools are supported. But I think we would certainly benefit from your engagement and from the council engagement on what schools should we help, what schools should we be willing to provide, and in order to ensure that we can provide grants that are going to be tailored to assisting the people who are most in need or who would be best affected by these donations. So we would welcome those discussions, and we would be happy to continue those communications as we move forward with the development of this project.
Specifically, what kind of grants does the 7-Eleven provide?
The grants that the 7-Eleven provides are grants for science fair projects, grants for school supplies, grants for book bags, anything dealing with school projects, school events, track meets. The 7-Eleven grants, Project AGAM will handle. And I think that those are the type of grants that they have done in the past, and those are the type of grants that I would anticipate in the future from 7-Eleven.
In the interim, where can I go to read up on more information on the type of grants and services that you provide to our local schools so that I have that frame of reference prior to us meeting to discuss further?
So on the 7-Eleven website, there is a tab for corporate responsibility, and on the tab for corporate responsibility, there is a section for corporate Project AGAM, and on that tab, it lists the type of grants that that 7-Eleven provides as part of its program.
So this, I'm assuming that this proposed 7-Eleven here doesn't have a current budget to be able to provide grants, but will have to wait until the franchisee proffers money as well as corporate. So right now it's zero balance.
I think that would be an accurate assessment. I think once the 7-Eleven gets opened and they begin to bring in some revenues, that would be the opportune time for us to begin those discussions with respect to what can be done with respect to Project AGAM. But I fully anticipate that that's something that they're going to be happy to discuss and something that they would welcome because they do want to be involved in the local communities in which they operate.
In some communities, I see that they're providing checks to schools that are ribbon cutting. So how does that work? Who provides that funding?
So that specifically, I think that that's something that we would have to talk to 7-Eleven's corporate side as far as the funding for the ribbon cutting in those events. I could not specifically, Vice Mayor, talk to that item, but I'm certain that we could find the right person from 7-Eleven who would be able to address that item.
Okay. As you can see, based on my lines of questioning, I'm very interested in 7-Eleven to living up to that premise of being strong corporate partners and partnering with our school and our police department. And I look forward to continued conversations with you on how we can achieve that. Myself, along with the Education Committee, who works very closely with the schools in our community, I look forward to further dialogue. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Anything further? Anything further from council? We appreciate 7-Eleven having the confidence in our community. They've brought their, what's reported to be their top-notch design in terms of look of the building and landscaping, and this is a real amenity, and I appreciate the commitment to give back to the community. But I want to be really clear to everybody who's listening and watching. What you might give to this community in the future is of interest and nice, but has no bearing on whether or not any of these 3 pending applications should be approved. Clearly, our attorneys and our development staff and planning and zoning have all determined before us that you are within the confines of the code in your request, and what someone may be able to reach into your pocket for in the future is, in my opinion, not an appropriate line of questioning, nor is it relevant to a vote or a decision on your applications here tonight. Was there anyone on else online? No, anyone else in the audience?
Seeing none online, Mr. Mayor.
All right, hey, is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? With that, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion on the first, we should take these separately, and it would be tab 6, correct? We have a motion for approval on tab
Mayor,
6.
before we vote, may I mention something before we vote?
Vice Mayor?
Yes, just very briefly, I want to clarify. My line of questioning was not contingent upon them answering favorably for my support. This application has been before us for a while, and I actually like to commend council because what 7-Eleven initially brought to us was unacceptable. And we had them to go back to the drawing board to bring us back a quality product, which they have done. So thank you for that, 7-Eleven. So I'm supporting it based on that, not based on whether or not they're going to support our local schools. But since they referenced it, I asked questions based on that. So I just wanted to clarify. Thank you, Mayor.
Do we have a motion for approval of tab 6?
Move it.
Moved by Councilman Roth.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Avila. There's nothing further from council. Let's have a roll call vote.
Councilman Shelley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey,
Yes.
Councilman Roth,
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes,
The motion carries.
thank you. All right, do we have a motion for approval on tab 7?
Move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Bailey.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Avila. Roll call vote.
Councilwoman Avila,
Yes.
Councilman Shelley,
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher,
Yes.
Councilman Roth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fairclough Staggers, Vice Mayor Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes,
The motion carries.
thank you. And finally, a motion for approval on tab 8.
Move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Avila.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Bailey. Roll call vote.
Councilman Roth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey,
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila,
Yes.
Councilman Shelley,
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Counselor. All right, that concludes the quasi-judicial portion of our agenda tonight. I will now open the floor for public comments, and each individual will have 3 minutes to speak. First, do we have anyone online wishing to make a general public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to make a general public comment? None appearing then, I will close the public comments portion of the agenda. Madam Manager, anything further?
Yes, just one thing, Mayor, I wanted to bring to the council's attention. We've gotten some more information with regard to our F-4 jet, and we have a vendor who's able to do maintenance to that jet without having to move it. It would cost about $18,000, and we also got some information if we did move that jet to build another stand for the F-4, it would be from $40,000 to $60,000, depending on the type of design of the stand. So we're looking for some direction. If we should go ahead with the maintenance, we could try to find help with the funding for that. And at the same time, we could also continue to look into whether the city would want a second jet somewhere else.
Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. I think some of the questions that I posed in our conversation was to get more history on the jet that we do have, who helped us get it in the first place, kind of history on it, so we can see if maybe those parties are still interested in helping us to proceed with our current plans. Maybe defer the item until we get those questions answered. Perhaps investing the money in the new jet, in the new location, and finding out whether we can return this current jet to the museum or to another party so that we can try to offset those costs. But I think I'd like more information before we make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. I when the manager spoke with me about that, I haven't had time to follow up. I think I know which group was the promoting entity to have that place there in the aftermath of Hurricane Andrew, and has typically helped provide not only the logistics to get it back and forth from the base, but as well as financial assistance to have the maintenance done. And since we spoke yesterday or the day before, I haven't had the opportunity to reach out, and I will take that upon myself, along the lines of what you said. Let's see what the history of that is. I'll do that. I know there's some feeling on council that perhaps, that one should stay where it is, or, it was my understanding that things were underway privately to get that overhauled and redone, and with the COVID shutdown at the base, that was kind of delayed, and maybe we can follow up and see where that is. And I guess the second step would be is for us to, share our concerns, our thoughts with the manager, perhaps individually, after we have time to think about it, as to whether or not we would like to pursue a second piece of equipment, how it would be funded, and probably as equally as importantly, where would it be placed? I know we had some conversation at a prior council meeting, and there was some difference of opinion as to placement, but that would be my thought. Each of us provide some input to the manager as to whether or not we want a second, and where would it go, and always with the confidence that I know your husband's been very helpful and knowledgeable with respect to where to get the pieces of equipment and how to help get grants for their upgrade and the installation. So let's that would be my kind of continue down that road and bring back some comprehensive info to council.
Thank you, Mayor. I would agree, and I think that once we have actual numbers on the new plane, we could maybe engage some of our local nonprofits to help us. But I agree, Mayor. Thank you.
I just want to point out one thing, Mayor, if I may. With regard to a new plane, we would need to tell the museum what type of plane we would want, and then depending on what they have, there is or there isn't a waiting list. So I'm not, if you want us to go that route, maybe we could talk a little bit about what kind of plane you might want, so we could get on a list.
Well, why don't you tell us what's available?
And Pedro, I think you're probably on the line. My understanding is they don't tell us what's available.
That is correct. The lady that I spoke with from the museum told us that we would request a second plane, and like you mentioned, when and if one is available, the city would be responsible for all the costs involving getting that plane to Homestead. So let's say this plane's in California, we would have to get quotes for hauling that plane over to California and prepping it. If the plane was coming off of service, we would be responsible for getting that plane demilitarized, removing all the weapons, sealing it, getting it prepped for display. Hopefully this plane's coming from another display, so we wouldn't be on the hook for all that. But there's a lot of costs that would add up depending on where this plane's going to come from and what was the current condition of it.
And in that regard then, and with that knowledge, then it's probably, when I reach out to, I think I've got some contacts that were involved in the placement of the first one. Let's see what hoops they jumped through, where it came from, and maybe there's a faster, better, cheaper angle than that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you. Anything further?
No, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'd like to request an executive session in the matter of Miranda v. City of Homestead. It's an OJCC case number 20-02365-3JIJ. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's make it happen. All right. Reports of Mayor and Council. Councilwoman Avila?
All right, we're over already? I wanted to just wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day weekend. And I wanted to thank Mayor and Council for their support in the Dairy Queen free movie night for the community that was held in District 5. children and family had a wonderful time, and I was happy to contribute meals to those in attendance. And I wanted to just announce that we are having a drive-through food distribution at the Women's Club of Homestead this Friday. And I wish everyone a blessed Ash Wednesday. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Roth.
Nothing today. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two quick announcements. Tomorrow we have a big Southwest Advisory meeting, and we will be finalizing 2 flyers, one for our next community conversation meeting. That is live and available to anybody from the public. We will have some different professionals on there to discuss some of the issues that we are all facing now in 2021. So please look for that flyer, as well as our Mentor Homestead program. Our flyer will be finalized tomorrow, hopefully, and I look very forward to presenting that to everyone. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Fletcher.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm sorry for not being able to attend in person. I hope to be able to return here in the next couple of months to have these face-to-face meetings where we can have good conversations without the echo and the muffledness in the background. As we continue to move forward through this pandemic, I just want to wish everybody a safe passage. I look forward to, the city, finding out when and if we're going to be able to perform the distribution of vaccines in the near future, and wish everybody a great week. And that's all I have for tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Fletcher. And a quick note, whatever adjustments you may have done from earlier tonight until now, speaking for myself, this is the first time I can fully understand what you were saying. So whatever you were just doing it, keep doing it as long as you're not with us here in person. Councilman Shelley?
And nothing at this time, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The month of February is African American History Month, and in celebration of and recognition of that, the Mayor's Youth Council they're finalizing their art competition for African American History Month for elementary, middle, and high school students. For those students that are interested in participating in the African American History Month art competition, please email me at pfaircloth@cityofhomestead.com for the information, or you can visit our website, www.cityofhomestead.com/NYC, for rules of engagement for the African American History Month art competition. And we look forward to several samples from students in our community, and those winners will be announced at the end of February. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Appreciate that. A couple of quick announcements. We need to announce for the initial announcement that there is a vacancy on the Homestead Historic Preservation Board. So if the clerk would publish that, and if you're interested, please check our website and submit your indication of interest. Also, there is still a vacancy remaining on our Planning and Zoning Board. My preference would be that it is a resident who resides west of Chrome Avenue. Currently, the west side of Homestead is not represented on that board, and certainly my preference would be that, that we have an applicant from that geographical area. And third, there are 2 openings for city residents from anywhere in the city on our police pension board. So anyone with interest, again, if you could, just one? Okay, just one, I'm sorry, I stand corrected, just one position on the police pension board that needs to be filled. If you would submit your letter of interest and resume to the city clerk, I hope that at next month's meeting we can fill all of these positions, and I encourage council to submit some, or to contact those who they think might be interested. And with that, if there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved, seconded, all in favor? Aye. Thank you all. Good night. Meeting adjourned.